Man, it's morning out here. It's a nice morning, but anyway, it's a nice morning this morning. Surprisingly enough, South Texas, surprisingly a lot like South Africa if you've ever been. It looks like parts of South Africa. But this is home, born and raised. It really is a beautiful place. It really is, especially in the morning. For all you people that went out there to work, some of us, we don't believe in work. We hang out in offices now, but we do appreciate what y'all do. I think we appreciate what y'all do more than you appreciate what we do. But it don't matter. We all got our place. Right. So a lot of people ask me how I got into the business. It's funny. I never wanted to actually. Never had any desire to at all. My grandfather was an early adopter, kind of a friend, associate, whatever, of Oscar White, Coastal Corp, you know. All that good stuff. So back in the 50s and 60s, I guess, most of my family was involved in oil and gas for many years, many years down in South Texas. My grandfather was a pipeliner. And of course, Daddy was a pipeliner too. Figure there was no way in hell I ever wanted to become a damn pipeliner. No way in hell. Really, I didn't want to work in the oil field either. I'm totally honest. Working out there with all that bullshit never really appealed to me at all because there's a lot of bullshit. But, became a photojournalist and journalist. Ended up working a lot of companies, multinational companies, NGOs. Worked for some news organizations for a while. Did all that. Started making contacts and, but then after being a journalist for many years, get approached by people. They say, you want to work with us? Here's some money. I said, well, shit. I really want to work with you people. Not really. But somehow you do. So you work for those people. You get used to it. All that good stuff. And so now I work as a communications consultant, crisis communications, different things, but specifically oil and gas companies. Now I'm kind of like an insurance policy for them, really. If something goes wrong, they call me. Better Call Saul. It's more like a combination between Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. No, I actually really enjoy still being a photojournalist and communicator. I just do it in a different way now. Instead of working for the left wingers, you work for the right wingers. You're always working for some kind of winger. They're all some kind of damn winger. But in some ways, yeah. So anyway, my story is pretty simple. It's old school. It's old school. But old school's the way that I like it. Yeah. Basically, Grandpa worked in the industry with Oscar White, like Coastal and all that bullshit. Daddy ends up going to work out there for a little while, makes a career out of it, working as a pipeliner. Strangely enough, for W.R. Grace. They worked for Grace for many years, a subsidiary of W.R. Grace, an offshoot of W.R. Grace. Grace made some kind of freaking company, and they went to work for it. And I somehow became a news journalist and a photojournalist. And I was that for 20 years. Specifically working on environmental oil and gas. Not what you think. And now I work as a consultant for some of the biggest oil companies in the world. It's kind of crazy how that works. And no, I'm not a sellout to the man. And no, they don't get a free pass just because they're oil companies. And no, I'm not a goddamn modern Republican either. Just if you wanted to know.
Well, now that I'm back here in the office, maybe I can explain this a little bit better now that I had my coffee. But I work as a communications consultant for some of these oil and gas firms, people like that. And I'm pretty privileged, actually, to be able to work with some of these companies because there's so much misinformation out there in the world these days. You don't know whether it's left, right, good, bad, indifferent, dumb, whatever. My job is to kind of help make sense of it all. A lot of people say that I might just tell the story of the oil company and be able to throw it out there and defend them and all this and that. It's actually not the case because the truth is when they're wrong, and you call them out on it and you just admit it. Sometimes you damage control, for sure, and you got to be damage control. But other times you got to be relatable. I also work with a lot of airlines too. Did you know that? Yeah. Airlines kind of keep me on retainer, if you will, for when something goes wrong. They have a plan in place to be able to take care of it, to be able to respond to it from a media situation. And sometimes it takes a somebody who's worked in that world for many, many years to be able to communicate with that world, to be able to deal with that world, to get the message across. It's kind of like why the best defense attorneys always used to work for the prosecutor. You know, think of it like that. So my job is not necessarily to sway public opinion or to move things around a little bit, but my job is more like a intermediary between fact and fiction, bullshit and reality. Now, of course, a lot of times the oil companies do pay my salary, and a lot of times they pay me really good money to do it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you just got to buy into it and believe everything that they say. It's kind of like being a mob attorney. That's the best way I can explain it. You're a mob attorney. Now, while I am not an attorney, my job is basically the same thing. One part theatrics and one part getting to the bottom of it, and then another part trying to control the narrative, because that's what everybody in this world is trying to do, control the narrative. You see, I've learned an awful lot in my life about controlling the narrative. I've learned what to do, what not to do. I've seen how people respond to certain situations. I see how I respond to certain situations. I see the good and the bad in it. And now my job is to try to blend that all together for the average Joe. Of course, working for the oil companies is, a love-hate relationship, right? But I do believe that there's a lot of oil companies out there trying to do the right thing. In fact, I don't even like the term oil companies. I think of them more as energy companies. You see, oil companies are kind of the people out there that are intentionally doing the bad things, kind of like the old mob. Energy companies are a little bit different. They out there just trying to make money with energy however they can make money with energy. And don't you think that the left-wing environmentalists are a bunch of good people either? Because they're not. They're a bunch of crackpots too. You see, they're just as bad, dirty, and horrible as the mobsters that run the oil business. Now, my job is more international. I work with a lot of international companies. I do work with a few smaller domestic companies, but predominantly my role is with the larger companies on the global scale. So I do tend to see things from a more international perspective, a global perspective, if you will. Yeah, that's what I do. I see things from a bigger picture. I respond things from a bigger picture. My job is not as simple as most people think. Now, sure, I create content and I do all sorts of things. I write little blogs, I send out press releases, I do PR videos, I do all sorts of stuff. The big chunk of my business is crisis communications. Believe it or not, when shit goes wrong, you really want this pretty face on your side. That's really kind of crazy to think, isn't it? But yeah, that's what I do. I work in energy communications, crisis communications, and media relations. Why? Because when you need somebody that looks like you to tell your story and you can't do it, you better call me. That's what I do. But I also have the freedom to think for myself, to be objective, and to see things from a little bit different perspective. Because trust me, it does help. Narrow-mindedness never helped anybody. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.